Hey, welcome everyone to Father, Son, and Holy Sport Weekly NFL Show. It's G-Man and T-Money coming to you. Live NFL Week 12 here, bringing you the entertaining Father-Son content you love. All right. Hey, man, T-Money, we had a big battle on Thursday night with the Steelers and Browns, looking ahead here to Week 12 and the rest of the games. And 6 teams on bye this week, 3 in the AFC. 3 in the NFC. We'll talk about those in fantasy. Of course, we got the fantasy show as part of this. We got the big bet show all coming up for you on this week's cast. What do you think about this guy behind me, though, to start things off? Josh Allen, man, coming through with a big win. Looking forward now. He's the front runner now for the MVP, isn't he, T-Money? Is he the MVP favorite in your mind?
I think he's got to be right now. All right. When you look at the other people that would be contenders, Patrick Mahomes has the best record in the NFL. But he doesn't have the statistics of anyone right now. He's having a statistically down year. The Detroit Lions, the other best team in the NFL, Jared Goff, I think he should be in the conversation. But Josh Allen's numbers and the amount that team relies on him compared to Jared Goff is just another level. And so when you go down the other teams, the Lamar Jacksons, he now has 4 losses, and most NFL MVPs come from the 1 or the 2 seed. So that's something to also keep in mind. After that loss, after how embarrassing he played this past weekend, when you go around, you're looking at the Jalen Hurtses and the Kyler Murrays and, CJ Strouds. Right now, no one's really made a name for themselves. I'd say Saquon Barkley maybe be the next guy with Goff and him kind of secondary. But Josh Allen right now playing great. He is their entire offense. I think he should be the NFL MVP, should be the favorite. They're going to win their division, no problem. It's just going to come down to if they can, stay in track for that 2 or 3 seed.
Yeah, I think he's definitely the favorite right now. He's definitely the best in the AFC. They lead their division. It's not even close. And the only team putting up more points than the Bills are the Ravens. And you just saw Lamar lose, and they may not win their division, where Allen beat Mahomes and passed up Mahomes. If Mahomes was ahead of him, he passed him. So I think he's the front runner, definitely in the AFC and probably overall. According to DraftKings, it's a 2-man race. It's Josh and Lamar, and Goff's third, followed by Hurts.
Yeah, I don't know how Lamar gets back into this thing. He's won 2 in a row, or he just won 1. This would be his third, or it would be 2 in a row. He would win his third without having a crazy amount of postseason success. A lot of times it's held against you. And on top of that, like I said, these things come from the usually the 1 or 2 seed. He's in a real hole here behind the Steelers. I know they beat Buffalo, so they would have a tiebreaker if they end up tying. But Buffalo could, end up winning out. They don't have as hard a schedule as a lot of these other teams. They go San Francisco, Los Angeles, Detroit here. That's going to be a tough finish.
Tough little run there.
But they already beat one of their toughest opponents in Kansas City during the stretch. And then they finish New England, Jets, New England. And so they can clip off 3 wins right at the end there to help get them in the running for that 1 seed, because they hold the tiebreaker versus the Chiefs. If they're the 1 seed, Josh Allen will be the MVP. There's no question in my mind. The 2 seed, I think it comes down to, do you like Jared Goff? Does Lamar kind of pick it back up? Does Patrick Mahomes run away with it? And his stats look great at the end of the year, and they get the 1 seed. So I think there's a lot up in the air. But if you tell me right now, Bills are the 1 seed, he's the MVP.
Yeah. And looking at that 3-game stretch, of course, they have the bye this week, and then they hit that 3-game NFC stretch against the NFC teams. And I think we both agree he's number 1 in the AFC for sure. Comes up against these 3 NFC teams. But there's 2 quarterbacks who have beaten Josh Allen. Lamar won. The other one is CJ Stroud. Interesting. Those are the 2 that have beaten him. And Josh is off this week. Lamar's been playing well, but he's now lost 2 of his last 4, losing to the Browns and the Steelers. He only scored 16 points against the Steelers, T-Money, on Sunday. Do you believe Lamar and the Ravens have been overrated?
I do think that people were a little early to jump on this bandwagon. Me and you both called the Steelers +3 this week, and I
Oh
had
yeah,
I had them dog
nailed it.
lock like I expected them to win. Now I didn't expect it to be this low scoring of a game, but I'm not shocked. This is what Mike Tomlin and the Steelers do, especially to Lamar Jackson, and these two could easily meet up in the postseason, especially the Ravens going to the Steelers again. Look, I think that they're kind of on the Steelers level, and none of us thought the Steelers were a true contender. They're just a really good football team. And I think with Lamar, I feel like we're on this double-edged sword of, oh my God, he's playing the best football of any quarterback in the league. And then he loses his fourth game, which is a lot. His fourth game already, 7-4, and we're talking about him as league MVP. But when he loses, we say, well, they should have gave the ball to Derrick Henry more. I don't know why they leaned on Lamar for passing. It's like, well, which is it? Is he the MVP or is Derrick Henry more valuable? I guess you could say they want it to be balanced, and that's fine. But, it's weird to hear people talk about the MVP. They don't say, hey, they should have gave the ball to Chase Brown more every time Joe Burrow loses. No, the guy carves up, and you want the ball in his hands,
Yeah.
even though he's
Well,
losing.
I think in terms of the offense, they had one of the top ranked offenses in the NFL. So they have had the offense, and they ran up here against a very tough defense. Pittsburgh's strength is their defense, I still think, and they
For
stifled
sure.
Lamar. But Lamar's offense has been there all year. They played Pittsburgh. They had 12 penalties, 3 turnovers. The 3 turnovers all led to Pittsburgh scores. They were field goals, but they scored. And the Steelers have won 7 of the last 8 against the Ravens, so they do have their number. But I still think that offense is there for the Ravens. They've got to get better on D. They play pretty good D against Pittsburgh, and all this talk about Russ is this and Russ is that, and they didn't get one touchdown.
Yeah. Russ played pretty bad, so the fact that the Ravens lost this game is a detriment to them. And now they've lost 2 games that they easily should have won in my mind. They lost the Raiders game and they lost this game. Now the Cleveland game, that's Jameis was back, and it was a fluke game. It's in division. You're going to have a loss or 2 in division. But that Raiders game and now this game where they couldn't even score a touchdown is going to come back to bite them in the ass when they're trying to go for the 1 or 2 seed. And so I think that this team is a little overrated. We need to see them put together a couple good weeks of football. They got Los Angeles Chargers and the Philadelphia Eagles the next 2 weeks. This is going to be the true test. They're going to end New York, Pittsburgh, Houston, Cleveland. They're probably going to win 3 of those games, and they'll be okay. They're going to make the playoffs, but we were looking at these guys as Super Bowl favorite types going into this season, and it just doesn't feel like that. So, yeah, I guess they were overrated, but not by people like T Money and G Man. I think we've always kind of had them where
Oh,
we had.
yeah, had them where they had them, and they're one of the best.
Yeah.
And we're going to see Monday Night Football how good they really are against this so-called contender Chargers team. We're going to see if the Chargers got it sitting at home. The Ravens come into town, and can they take the Ravens out? I don't know, Team Money. I think the Ravens are going to get this victory, but they are taking on water in the AFC North, and now they're 2 games back. And another team taking on water is the 49ers, who lose to Seattle, fall to 5-5, essentially are tied for last place. Who can believe it? In the NFC West, are you worried about the 49ers?
It got to be right. I'm definitely worried about these
Yeah.
guys. Right now, they're sitting at the 10 seed in their own conference. I mean, these guys were the favorites going into the year in the NFC, and they're last in their own division. This is the first time Geno Smith has ever beaten the 49ers. And it was a horrible game. Watching this thing, you're like, how the hell did they lose this? They had 17 points. Brock Purdy had an abysmal game here. He had 1 touchdown and 1 pick, and I believe, 159 total yards throwing. I mean, what the hell was this game from him? So it's just shocking all around. The defense let Geno Smith go down the field like it was nothing at the end and run the ball in. The offense was stagnant. And even though they have Christian McCaffrey back, And Brock Purdy didn't look good. This team is out of all sorts, and I'm worried about
Yeah.
them. And at this point, unless they string together a couple wins, which I don't know how they're going to do, this team is not making the playoffs. It's
Yeah.
just flat out. The NFC isn't as great as some of the AFC teams, but it's deep. It's going to be very hard to jump some of these teams. Detroit, Philly, they're locked in. Luck, and then you got the Packers and Washington Commanders. They're probably locked in. All right, so you're really going up against your own division in the Cardinals, and then the Atlanta Falcons. The Vikings are probably locked in too. The Falcons are going to win their division. So you're really facing your own division. You have to win your division to get in at this point because there are too many good teams.
Well,
And
I think
so,
that's it. I think
like,
that's it. It's that's the go for the division for these kind of divisions that are all, four losses and more for the NFC West. All of them have at least four losses.
yeah.
And whoever wins the division is in, and the other people are out.
Yeah, and look, they're going to have, Green Bay Buffalo's a tough next two games, so it's going to really test them. They're on the road for both of them. They're not favored this week versus Green Bay. I mean, everyone would have said going into this year, like, yeah, they're going to be favored in that game. And so then they go to Buffalo. That's going to be another tough game. So two big games. I think you lose these two, you might be out of contention. And so, like I said, they're going to have to string together some wins here. They've done it in the past, but if you want to make the playoffs, you got to win this division. And I don't know if they can do that. So, yeah, I'm really worried about this team.
Well, Christian was back, and they have Debo, and Kittle should be back this week. They should have their complement to put up some points. This should be a
Yeah.
higher scoring game against the Packers. And if San Fran can play some D, I don't know what the status is of their defensive end, Bosa, but yeah, hopefully he's playing because that's going to be a shootout there in Green Bay this Sunday at 4 o'clock. And the Chiefs, despite losing, are still 2 games up in the AFC West. But the Chargers and Broncos are coming on strong over there, T-Money. Who are you most impressed with of those two teams? You impressed with the Chargers or the Broncos more?
Okay. Here's what I'll say. For one, I'm heartbroken because the Chargers just beat us at the end of the game. It was a tough loss. So that is why I have moved to jerseys that are basketball only, Cincinnati. We're not discussing Cincinnati football. I'm done with it. Okay. Now, let me move on to say the Chargers are impressive. They are very impressive, and they're a very good team. Jim Harbaugh has turned this thing into a really good football team. Well coached. Herbert looks good. They're well balanced. Jesse Minter is awesome. Their defensive coordinator. But who am I more impressed by? The Broncos were supposed to be a bottom 5 team, and no one thought Bo Nix would be this good. Half the people thought he was a second to third round pick. And the Denver Broncos are 6-5, and they just murdered Atlanta, who everyone kind of thinks is a good football team, 38-6. Bo Nix had 4 passing touchdowns. And the week before, they should have beat Kansas City if they didn't have a field goal blocked. So I'm impressed with this team because of how they've turned things around, how Bo Nix has looked. The defense has looked stout, and right now they're in the running to make the playoffs. So I think the Chargers are a better team, and I kind of already thought they had the better quarterback and the better coach and the better roster. The Broncos seemed like they were in a full-on rebuild, and now they're 6-5. And they just murdered Atlanta 38-6 with a couple easy schedules coming up. Vegas, Cleveland, Indianapolis coming up. And so you can really get a good footing and a good foothold on getting to the playoffs here. And so I'm impressed with the Broncos more than the Chargers, even though, yes, I think the Chargers are better. I'm just really impressed with Sean Payton and what this team has done.
This is what we expected 2 years ago when Sean Payton went to Denver, and we expected the Chargers to be good under Staley, and they weren't. And so this is what we expected from this AFC West. And now it's starting to come to fruition because Harbaugh is doing a great job of the Chargers like he always does, turning teams around and finding success. He's doing it again. The Chargers are on a 4-game winning streak. They're 7-3, actually 2 games up on the Broncos. So they got quite a lead here over the Broncos, but the Broncos under Peyton, yeah, I agree, man. They're looking good. Their defense is amazing. And that's what's really keeping him in games. And Bo Nix is really playing well. He's top 10 now in the NFL the last few weeks. Top 10 QB. So
Yeah.
I like their quarterback also. And then the Chargers too, Herbert as well. They are really playing well. Both of these teams. I think I'd rather play the Chargers, and I think the Chargers go down Monday night against the Ravens, whereas the Broncos are going to win again against the Raiders.
Yeah, sure. I mean, those are obvious. I would if you
Oh, I don't know
flop
about
the team
obvious. I
if
mean,
you flop the teams they're playing, I'm going to choose the Chargers over the Raiders and the
well,
Ravens to beat the Broncos. Who's more impressive on the year though? I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. Who has
wait,
been more
I
impressive?
answered the question. I answered the question and I reinforced my question with my answer. I reinforced it by saying they're going to win again, the Broncos.
Okay, Broncos are more impressive, but
Absolutely.
I'll challenge you on this. I think the Chargers are a better team. They already beat the Broncos this year. I think the Chargers are a better team.
They're a good team. They're a good team. I think Denver's coming on, though, with Bo
Okay.
Nix leading the way. I like Bo Nix the way he's running around playing quarterback. And I like Herbert too. I
Well,
like Herbert too.
we're gonna find out on December 22nd when the Broncos go to the Chargers, and G-Man's gonna come crawling back on the 23rd. Like, I'm sorry I ever questioned you, Tyler. The
And I will
Chargers
expect
are
the
better.
same from you also. I will expect the same from you. Hey, and speaking of expecting, how about Blue Tees Golf? We want to thank our sponsor, Blue Tees Golf. BlueTeesGolf.com. Go check it out, everybody. Find a high quality, affordable golf products. Pick up your game, man. Speakers, rangefinders, have some fun out there. Enter the coupon code FSHS, get a 10% discount on your full order. And also, do us a favor, press that like and subscribe, everybody. We want to keep bringing it to you. All right, let's move on to big bets. See what T Money has this week for us. And we're going to give you our best pick of the week and our lock pick of the week. T Money, 6-0 the last 3 weeks on his picks of the week. G-Man, 12-3 the last 3 weeks on his weekly 5-pack of player prop picks. You like that, T Money? My
Yeah,
5-pack. Since you know I can't just give you one, I got to give you 5.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's go to my first lock of the week.
Let's.
And that is Tampa Bay -5.5 versus the New York Giants. I'm shocked that this line is that low. I thought this would be a 10-point spread. They've Giants have clearly thrown in the towel, letting Tommy Cutlets start. Drew Lock has actually been the backup all year for Daniel
You're
Jones.
killing
And
me.
as soon as they bench Daniel Jones, which means they're tanking, they put in their third string QB to guarantee that they get some losses here. Tampa Bay, on the other hand, has been heartbroken the past 4 weeks, losing to Baltimore in a close game, losing to Atlanta in a close game, and losing to Kansas City in overtime, and losing to San Francisco on a last-second kick. It's been heartbreak after heartbreak for Tampa Bay, but they're playing against really good teams, and they're battling. When they play bad teams, play the Saints, 51-27. Philadelphia, they beat 33-16. The Washington Commanders earlier this year, they beat 37-20, and they're the only team that has beaten the Lions. This is a affordable team. They're getting Mike Evans back. They're getting Jalen McMillan back. They're coming off a bye. They're feeling good. This is a murder.
Well,
Minus
you
five and a
certainly had a
half,
lot.
sign me up.
You had a lot to say about that, but yes, I do have you signed up, and we got you down. And I love your passion for your picks. I love that. But I'm going with this team right here, T Money. This is the team right here on my lock pick of the week. The Houston Texans, baby. -8 versus the Titans. Buy it down to 7, y'all. Get 7 just in case, it gets close there. But I think this is a runaway. Houston has not played well, but believe it or not, T Money, they've covered 5 of their last 7, and they're not even playing well. They've gone 8-2 against the spread in the last 10 times they faced Tennessee. 8-2 against the spread. Tennessee is the worst cover option in the NFL this year. They're 1-9 against the spread, and they're 1-9 straight up in their last 10 games against the AFC South. They don't play well in that AFC South. Give me the Texans -8, sitting comfortably at home for my Week 12 lock pick of the week.
All right. I like it, G. I told you last week they were going to murder the Cowboys, that the number was crazy. And what did they do? They blew them out.
Well, and I followed up with this week.
I know.
What do you got for that dog
We're
lock?
just going to double down here. All right. My dog lock of the week here is the Chargers. All right. They're not a good team, Gary. They're not a good team.
Oh,
I'm going to show you they're a good team. The
I didn't say
Ravens,
they weren't a good
all
team.
right. The Ravens, after a tough loss to Pittsburgh, have to fly all the way to the West Coast. That is a tough flight. That's a tough flight. We all know that's a tough flight. The Chargers are going to be throwing all over that secondary. Herbert is much better than Russell Wilson is. And the big factor here, the reason why I like this so much is Jesse Minter. Jesse Minter is the defensive coordinator for the Chargers, who came from Harbaugh from Michigan. But what was he before Michigan? He was on John Harbaugh's staff with the Ravens for a long time. And so he knows all the ins and outs of Lamar Jackson. Not only does he know the ins and outs of that offense because he's playing against them every day in practice, he knows all the ins and outs of that defense because he used to call it. And so he will be able to give Harbaugh the secrets to beat his brother in a big matchup on Monday Night Football. Ravens start reeling against some good teams here. Give me the Chargers +3. If you want to go 3.5, go ahead and do it. But I like them as my dog lock of the week.
Oh, good. I'm just texting you something right now for a money line. And we'll see if Team Money accepts that.
Okay. He wants a bet. Okay.
Your Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football.
I'm the dog lock here. Okay. You want a money line bet me? Okay. We'll lock in the money line then. I'm gonna go. I'm going to go dog lock, even though you want a $20 straight up bet. I'll do it. All right. On the pod, lock it in. Lock it in. Chargers win Monday night. Lock it in.
All right. Let's go to G-Man's dog lock pick of the week. I'm going to Indianapolis, sitting at home. The Lions are coming in. The Lions have ballooned to 7.5-point favorites, T-Money. This matchup between the Lions and the Colts has the highest over-under total of the week at 50. Can you believe this? But even with the run game struggling mightily last week, the Colts still put up 28 points. That's why this could be 50 points. The Colts put up 28, and JT didn't even run well. They didn't get it going. But you know why they're going to win? Anthony Richardson coming off the best game of the season. He threw for 272 yards and ran for a pair of touchdowns. Totally ran over the D-backs.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to tackle this guy. And with Richardson and Taylor in the backfield, they can dominate the ground game. They can control the possession against Detroit. The Lions are the number one team against the spread in the NFL. But Team Money, there comes a time when the line gets too high. And this is that time. And Goff's production away from Ford Field when he's on the road is 8 points lower per game. I think Richardson and the Colts getting 8 points, keep things close. The spread's too much. Give me the Colts plus the 7.5 or 8. Keep it close as the Lions struggle here in week 12, but might still win the game. My dog lock pick of the week.
Okay. I like it. Let's go to the best part of the betting show here, and that's everyone's favorite segment, G-Man's player props of the week now, okay? Because we got 17 of them. What do you got for us, G?
Well, I've got to go with the 3 that I've been hitting every week, and I'm going to keep those coming to you. And that's anytime touchdowns from 3 players. Amon-Ra in Detroit versus Indy, Sunday at 1. Anytime touchdown. And then we got Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown. That's the Eagles on Sunday Night Football versus the Rams. And then on Monday Night Football, Derrick Henry on that Ravens team, anytime touchdown. Those 3 have hit week after week, and we've given you the picks. And so go with it, man. Last week we got Amon-Ra at plus odds. It was not minus odds. Amon-Ra anytime touchdown was a plus odds bet. That's hard to find.
Yeah.
So there you go. Those are 3 good ones right there. I'm going to go with, so I gave you I'm going to give you a tight end here, T-Money, for my 4th pick. I'm going to go Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith, big game last week for Miami, the tight end for Miami. Over 31 receiving yards, T-Money. He's beaten 46 yards, 5 of the last 6. And they're finding him out there. I like Jonnu Smith on that bet.
All right.
And let's give you one more, T-Money. And let's go to Team Money's favorite, man. Team Money Cincinnati team. Burrow over 1.5 touchdowns. We've given you this bet before. He's done it the last 3 weeks in a row. Let's go Burrow over 1.5 touchdowns.
Okay. Okay. I like it, G-Man.
Okay, great. Hey, how about you fantasy managers? How you doing in your leagues? Let's give you some plays as you move into week 12. 6 teams on bye this week, fantasy managers. I know you know that you're trying to fill the gaps. We're going to help you. In the AFC, Buffalo, Cincinnati, the Jets, and Jacksonville are all on byes. NFC, Atlanta, and New Orleans are on byes. Fill in the gaps is where we help you. G-Man gives you the hot startums and cheap DFS plays you can put in your DFS lineups. Team Money gives you the cold starters. Better put them on your bench or they're going to break your heart. You got to get ready for the playoffs. So let's go with the hot and cold game to start. G-Man going to give you the hot running back. Last week at running back, we gave you, in fact, the last 2 weeks, we've given you 2 big stardom picks, Tyrone Tracy and David Montgomery. Hit it the last 2 weeks. This week, we're going Aaron Jones on the road in Chicago. Sunday at 1 o'clock. Jones only had 5 fantasy points last week. So you're wondering, should I start him? Don't let that stop you. I know the Bears defense ranks 20th in the NFL against fantasy running backs. Yes, Cam Akers cutting into Jones's touches. But even with the vultured receiving touchdown Akers got last week, we know Jones is the superior talent in this backfield. And I like him at $6,400 in DraftKings. Aaron Jones, start him and watch him. My running back flex pick of the week.
All right. All right. I like it. I like it. I'm going to do something I don't always do, and I'm going to give you a back-to-back cold running back. We're gonna go after him again because he had such a hot start to the season that I think people are just sticking with him to stick with him. He's RB 21 on the year, was probably RB teens, maybe RB 12 or 15 before these last 2 weeks, and that's Tony Pollard. I'm going for Tony Pollard again, back-to-back weeks. He's projected
Tony
for
Pollard.
13.1 versus Houston. Now, what is Houston? They are a top 5 team in fantasy football versus running backs. Why does that sound familiar? Because last week I told you Minnesota was top 2 versus running backs, and that he was going to be horrible, and he had 4.9 points. He only had 9 rushes and 2 catches. The only difference is the week before when he scored 10 points, is he had 4 catches. So they're not including him. And now Tajay Spears is back. He's being included even less. And Houston, again, a hard matchup. And for the second week in a row, Tony Pollard is trending in the wrong direction and his Team Money's cold running back of the week.
Yeah. Okay. Good pick. I can see that. Hey, let's go to the hot wide receiver for the week. Hey, last week we hit it for you also on the wide receiver. We gave you Ladd McConkey. He busted out against Team Money Cincinnati team, got 18 fantasy points. At wide receiver this week, we're going Devontae Smith for Philly against the Rams on Sunday Night Football. Smith has had 2 rough weeks in a row. He's now in a row less than 7 fantasy points. What do you do this week? Start him. He secured 4 of 6 targets last week. Should get that same target volume again. 6 throws versus a Rams defense that ranks 21st in the NFL against opposing wide receivers. Devontae is a steal on DraftKings. $5,800, less than $6,000. Great value and upside. Devontae Smith, start him and watch him. Wide receiver flex pick of the week.
I like it. I like it, G-Man. He's so reliable. Okay. Great pick. My cold wide receiver of the week, a little spicy here, but I'm going Jayden Reed of the Green Bay Packers. He's projected 12.2 versus San Francisco 49ers. All right. Right now, Jayden Reed has only 1 game over 10 points in the last 4 starts. SF is a top 11 team versus wide receivers, and they're coming in hungry and with a vengeance. Last week, even with a win and them scoring 20-plus points, he couldn't break 10 points. He had 2 catches and luckily a touchdown. And not only that, he has no more than 6 targets since week 4. Not catches, targets. The guy is not averaging what you might think. He's just so heavily touchdown reliant here. He's scored a touchdown in every game except for one, since like week 4. So he's so heavily touchdown reliant. His catches are 2, 5, 2, 2, 6, 4 in the past couple weeks. So he's
Yeah.
not getting the receptions. He's gonna have a bad week. He's already had 3 out of 4 bad weeks. Don't continue to rely on this guy versus a tough matchup. Jaden Reed, cold run or wide receiver of the week.
Sad to see, but so true. I love the guy, but it's so up and
Talented.
down.
Yeah, there's just so deep at wide receiver that you can't rely on these guys.
The Green Bay team has been like that since for the last 2 years. It's just you don't know who's going to break out. Christian Watson went crazy last week. Who would have guessed that?
And he only had 4 catches.
Hey, let's move to our next game with T Money. Take or mistake. We pick a player that had a big week last week, and T Money tells us whether we should take the bait this week, or would that be a mistake? And T Money passed on MVS last week.
I knew you were going to bring it up.
MVS broke out. So T Money, a rare miss there for T Money.
Hey, did I tell you he was going to get 2 catches? I just didn't know it'd be another 80-yard fucking catch.
And I got him. I had MVS on my DFS team. Hey, let's ask T Money this week about Rome Odunze from the Bears. After scoring 5 fantasy points against New England in Week 10, Odunze came on with 13 fantasy points this past week, bringing in 6 of 10 targets. I said 10 targets. Odunze led the Bears in receiving yards and targets in the first game under interim offensive coordinator Thomas Brown. T Money, is Odunze a start this Sunday at home versus a Vikings defense that is one of the worst in the NFL versus wide receivers? Is he a take, T Money, or would that be a mistake?
Let me start with this. Love Rome Odunze. And I would typically say no, because he is getting targets, but Keenan Allen's still getting 8, DJ Moore's still wide receiver 1, and Swift is heavily involved. There's just a lot of mouths to feed, similar to the Packers here. The only reason I'm saying he's a take is it's Buy-Mageddon. It's Buy-Mageddon, baby. Buy-Mageddon. Every team seems to be on a buy this week. Everyone is short on good players. And this guy has boom potential, which you're looking for when you have a lot of guys on a buy. You need to make up points. Like you said, he had 10 targets last week. He's had 6 targets, 7 targets, 6 targets. I like him. Now, if you're fighting over Jalen Waddle and Jerry Jeudy and Jordan Addison, the guys around the same, I'd probably take the Addisons and the Waddles. But I love his upside, the targets I love, and on Buy-Mageddon, I would start him. So it's a take this week only.
It's a take with an asterisk, and I love his DraftKings price too. Only 4,800, less than 5,000 on DraftKings. So I got him in my DFS lineup. Here's my DFS lineup. I'm going Baker Mayfield at quarterback. $6,100 for Baker at the quarter for $6,100.
It's gonna
That's
torch.
a steal. I'm running back. I'm going Kenneth Walker in that big game, Arizona-Seattle game. Who's going to win that? I'm going Kenneth Walker on the ground there with Aaron Jones from Minnesota at the running back. At wide receiver, I got Devontae Smith. I got Odunze. We're adding in Marvin Harrison, only $6,100. Arizona coming back off the bye, and there should be some points in that game. So I wanted to get on those points, T-Money. I got Jonnu Smith at the tight end. Flexing in Metcalf, DK in that game at the flex, and the Broncos defense against the Raiders. There's my DFS lineup for week 12.
I like it, G-Man. Sounds good.
Well, thank you, T-Money. Hey, everybody, that's it for today's show. Get ready for NFL Week 12, everyone. We got the Thursday Nighter, and then some big ones coming up on Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. Enjoy the games. Father Son loves bringing you the energy, everybody. We hope you had fun. On behalf of T-Money, I'm G-Man. Enjoy the games.
Peace.